What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Weekly Wheaties, episode 13. This week, we're going to talk about 3 things that you must do, or you have to do, should do, whatever clarifier you want to use, once you graduate high school. And I know a lot of you might be out of high school, or you're not quite a senior, or you just graduated a little while ago. So, any of these kind of tips, I guess you could call them tips that I'm about to tell you, can be useful because you can share it with your friends. You can tell your kids, um, or even if you're, like I said, you're out of high school, you could use this as advice as you pursue a career. So, for the last, we'll call it what, 14 years, your job was to go to school and graduate high school. That's what you were trying to do with your life. Now you have a new job, and your new job is going to be one of 3 things or a combination of them. There's a chance you could do all 3 at the same time, but typically 1 to 2 is about it. So the first one being you're going to join the workforce. You're going to get a job. You're going to start your career wherever that might lead you. The second would be you would go to school to further your education. That could be a trade school, that could be a technical school, that could be a 2 or a 4-year college degree, whether it's online or it's in person. That could also include online courses and online learning. There's a ton of that out now, and it's always changing and always updating. And the third of those is joining the military. So I feel very comfortable speaking on the college and career route because that's kind of the route I took. But I don't feel too comfortable speaking on military just because it's not my background. Reached out to a couple of friends and kind of got the same feedback. If you want to join the military or you don't know if you want to, you need to reach out to someone to talk to. They have recruiters that do that. That is their full-time job. The first thing you would need to do is take an ASVAB, see where your score is, and see what job you can qualify for. Then go take a physical exam, see if you qualify physically, because there are some things physically that if you can't do, you can't join the military. Um, Again, I can't speak to specifics, but I can say something I've heard in the past. For example, if your eyesight isn't quite 20/20, you can't join the Air Force, or you can't fly a plane in the Air Force. I'll say it that way. So there's other peculiars that might come up. Again, can't speak to those. I'll try to link some videos below that could help with that, but that's kind of out of my purview, so I can't really talk too much there. So then that leaves us with a career or education. I'm a big proponent of education, but I also understand education doesn't mean professional or what we consider education as far as like college. You can learn tons of ways. You can learn, one of the most common ways of learning anything is referred to as OJT, or on the job training. So a lot of times it doesn't even matter what you learn in college. You're going to unlearn it or learn a new way when you join the career and get your own job anyway. I realize that, and I don't want to talk down to that, but that's for a different video. What I want to talk about is, what does the education process look like? What does college look like? And how does that happen? I know college isn't for everyone, just like the military isn't for everyone. But having taught high school for a few years and have a lot of friends that graduate, having graduated myself, I've seen some common reoccurrences that I would like to help with and address. And like I said, if you didn't ever go to college, this might can help you too. So the first thing is, if you're going to join or go to a 4-year college, even 2-year colleges, you must first get accepted into those colleges. Typically, you have to take either an ACT or SAT exam and have a score that's high enough that they'll say, yes, you can qualify to come to this college. Before that, you at least have to have a GED as well, or a high school diploma. So there is that if you did not quite finish high school. That exam, typically they just have a median score. The rest of the scoring is really just predicated on if there's a certain college within the college you want to attend, or if you're trying to get certain scholarships, you want a higher score. Obviously, the higher the better. So, for example, a typical 4-year college, we'll use LSU as an example because, again, we're in the greater Baton Rouge area. So, Louisiana State University, LSU, is a college. However, within that college, there are other colleges, and it gets to be a little confusing. But for example, there's the College of Business, there's the College of Engineering, there's the College of Agriculture, there's the law school, the music school, College of Architecture. All of these degrees have, or they fall within a certain college under the LSU college umbrella, if you will. So you have the big LSU umbrella, all these colleges within, and then even taking the engineering, for example, you have the umbrella of College of Engineering under the College of LSU. In there, there's civil engineering, chemical engineering, mechanical engineering, biological engineering, and other ones that I don't even know of because that's not quite my area, but I am somewhat familiar with them. The point being, what do you want your profession to be? What do you want to do when you finish college? When you finish this quote unquote job path of your career, where do you want it to end up and lead to? If you have an idea of what you want to do in the future, that's great. A lot of people get to college and don't, or they think they know what they want to do, or things transpire and cause them to choose another career. That actually happened to me. I knew exactly what I wanted to do, and things happened that wasn't in the cards anymore, at least the way things played out. So, what do you want to do when you finish high school? Or if you're an adult right now and you want to change your profession, what profession do you want to go into? Guaranteed, there's going to be some type of college degree you can obtain, typically what's referred to as a bachelor's degree, so a 4-year degree, where you can work towards this profession. So once you earn that degree, once you're in that area, you might find that there's tons of other jobs in this profession you didn't even know existed. I'm a prime example of that. The current role I hold, which I'll talk about at another time, did not exist until other people before me kind of created this path, if you will. Just like any job, I mean, jobs are created all the time. But that's the thing, right? You don't always know what's going to be created. So you need to figure out which area you want to be in and what you want to do with that. So, for example, I said I wasn't going to talk about it, but briefly, my degree is in adult education. Every field out there has adult education tied to it in some way, shape, or form, right? So if you want to be in like HR can work in literally in any field because every business has to have some level of HR aspect to it. Which leads me to something I want to stress here. If you have no idea what you want to do when you get out of college, please do not get a degree in general studies. I know people who have done that and it's kind of gotten them, it bit them in the rear end, if you will. My suggestion, if you don't know what you want to do, is at least get something in the business realm. The College of Business, there's tons of business degrees. You can even focus on just business as a general example. Under that, there's marketing and some other things, but business can be used all over the place. General studies, not necessarily so much. If you were to do like pie charts of what business degrees can use versus general studies, the pie chart for business degrees can be much larger, at least in my somewhat educated anecdotal opinion. Um, so let's go to the career world. Let's say you don't want to go to college. That's fine. Plenty of friends of mine started and then found out it wasn't for them or didn't even start. So there's no fault in that. College isn't for everyone, again, just like the military isn't. And if you know exactly what you want to do, sometimes starting out in the career world, you can get a leg up. A lot of the trades, you might have to go to trade school, but you can make a ton of money fresh out of high school, arguably while your body's still in the shape where you can use it. As you go to school and you get older, you might not want to do those jobs that can bring in that kind of money. So you might want to try to make a ton of money really quick. There's no shame in that whatsoever. So figure out what you want to do. Find someone when you get into that job that you can learn from. You're going to learn so much, like I said, from on-the-job training that sometimes education might not even help. There's a big shift in the business world right now, or in the career, whatever world you want to call it. Mine's kind of going blank right now. That education doesn't always mean as much depending on where you go. Some jobs, they want portfolios. They want to see what you've done, what you've been involved in, projects you've actually completed, thingamajigs you've built, whatever it might be. Especially in the creative world, marketing is a great example. I have friends with marketing degrees that their intelligence in that area is so high that you need that degree because it tells them that they're playing these psychology games, if you will, with customers. And that's not a derogatory term, and that I didn't mean it in that way, if that's how it came across. There's things that work in the marketing world that just are rules you have to follow because they work so well. One of the prime examples I've heard of that I tend to fall back on is the color red makes people hungry. That's why a lot of restaurants use the color red a lot, either in their signage or on their menus, or in the building, the walls are painted red, for example. You might can learn that on the job. You might can learn that with practice over the years, but you're not going to learn that if you didn't go to school for it or at least study it on your own. Which again leads me back to, even if you don't go to college, that doesn't mean your education has to stop. You can still learn so much on your own. There's tons of apps out there that can help you learn anything and everything. A couple of ones that I like, I'll actually use as an app pick for this week. Blinkist was one of the first ones. There's one called Read It For Me, and there's one I use called 12 Minutes, or 12 Min, M-I-N, but it stands for 12 minutes. And the premise is they can take these larger nonfiction books and distill them in 10 to 15 minute blurbs, whether you read it or it's audio, and allow you to kind of listen to it as like a podcast to where you can learn some type of content. I've learned tons of stuff like that. I might have even learned no, I don't think I learned the color red thing from that. But again, tons of apps that you can use to learn all sorts of stuff, regardless of the career field you choose. YouTube. This is on YouTube. This is also a podcast, but podcasts and YouTube are blowing up like crazy. YouTube and TikTok are two of the top 3 search engines used, period. I mean, obviously Google's number one. I'm a Bing fan, so I use Bing, but DuckDuckGo, like if y'all remember Ask Jeeves and all of those, people will go on YouTube and use it as a search engine. People have been using TikTok lately as a search engine. They'll search for something to learn how to do it. There's even a really famous hashtag that got popularized, learned it on TikTok, or something similar. I'm not too big on TikTok, so sorry if I got that wrong. The point is, your job is to have a job. And if you don't have a job, your job is to find a job. That job can be school, that job can be military, that job can be the career workforce, whichever profession you choose. Your next job, in my opinion, is to always better yourself, whether that be in some form of education that you self-learn, some type of professional development group you're involved in with your job. You can join a Facebook group or a Reddit subreddit for literally anything and everything and learn about whatever you want to learn about. I don't have an example right now except for cooking. Like if you want to learn how to cook, you can get tons of Facebook groups for that. I have a relative who is a member of a Facebook group just for baking bread. Literally, that's the only thing the group talks about, baking bread. It's not about any other baking products. It's not about cooking anything else. It's baking bread, period. Like, that's how granular you can get with topics on Facebook and Reddit. It's just really crazy. There's information out there. It's up to you to find it. And if you can't find it, something's wrong. You need to practice. If you can't find it, the way you find it is you go on Google and you search, how can I best search Google, and get some tips on how to use Google as a search engine. There's a ton of little tips you can use as like clarifiers, using quotes and the plus sign and the minus sign and things of that nature to help you with your searching. Once you get good at searching, you can go search on Reddit, you can search on YouTube, you can search on TikTok, you can search on Facebook. find these groups, talk to people, get information from others. That's what we do. We learn from others. That's one reason I wanted to start this podcast, was to share things that I'm always talking about for other people that I think could find it useful. So I know this was about what you do when you get out of high school, but that wasn't the full intent. Again, your job is to have a job. Your second job is to learn more about that job or some area. That area could also be a hobby, right? You can learn about a hobby. You can make a hobby a profession in some cases. You can teach others about your hobby and make that a profession. So always keep learning. That's the gist of it. Go check out one of the app picks, and I'll catch you next week.